The George W. Bush administration condemned the Israeli government for doing an airstrike in Gaza that took out one Hamas militant but killed 14 other civilians. Think about how disgusting and devolved our country has gotten, where Joe Biden can't outdo the war criminal George W. Bush, where George W. Bush has more morality than Joe Biden. Joe Biden is a disgrace, an absolute disgrace. I will not be voting for Joe Biden under any circumstance. I don't care about any other policy that he has championed. I cannot, as an Armenian American, support a president who has greenlit the ethnic cleansing and genocide of Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. This, for me, is the red line.
Whoa. Well, I will disagree with her a little bit that George Bush has more morality than Joe Biden. I think that's a toss-up. They were both asleep at the wheel, and they let everybody do really fucked up shit, and there was a lot of fucking blood on George Bush's hands, a million Iraqis, okay? So let's not downplay that, but I completely agree with everything else that she said here, and I hope everybody remembers this, for a long time.
Yeah. I mean, I think she was kind of just specifically talking about the issue of Palestine.
No, I know. I just wanted to just put it out.
Right. No, I agree. Yeah. Bush's body count is definitely higher than Biden's.
George Bush is even 100% the worst president of our lifetime.
Yep. Hands down. But I agree with Anna. I totally agree with Anna. I've been on this page for a while. Definitely have not been planning on voting for Joe Biden. However, I will say there has been a shift in my thinking, because up until what happened on October 7th, and then, the American green lighting of the Israeli response and war crimes, I was admittedly, feeling a little bit more positive towards Joe Biden. I was saying things like, oh, if I lived in Pennsylvania or Georgia, then I probably would vote for Joe Biden. This was coming off of him joining the UAW picket line and standing in solidarity with striking workers. And, I think a lot of people on the left were feeling a little bit more positively about Biden. Unfortunately, then obviously what happened on October 7th went down, and he had the worst possible response imaginable. He basically just said, yeah, do whatever you want, Israel. I'll sign off on it. I'll defend it. And then I'll go on to deny the war crimes that I enabled you to commit, which is just disgusting. Just an absolute spit in the face, to deny the war crimes that you greenlit and funded. So yeah, I feel Anna, I agree with Anna, but like I said earlier in the live stream, it's just a bummer and it's frustrating to be on the left and to be someone who's been advocating for the third party movement for all these years, to see that once again, we kind of have an opportunity here for, like, Americans are sick of the duopoly. Leftists are feeling like they don't want to vote for Joe Biden, but what's the alternative? What's the leftist alternative? Where is this momentum going to be transferred? That's a productive, place or direction. Unfortunately, the Cornel West, right. It's like the Cornel West campaign. We were hoping it would be that sort of a vehicle potentially for such a movement or for such momentum. Doesn't seem like that's going to work out. Jill Stein is running now, but we've already talked about the fact that with Cornel West also in the race, they're going to be kind of cannibalizing the same already very small percentage of Americans that are interested in leftist third-party options. And then we got RFK Jr., who's going to be soaking up most of that sort of attention as far as like the independent anti-establishment candidate goes, even though he's not really that anti-establishment. He still kind of gets to pretend to be. So yeah, it's just a bummer, because it's like, yeah, I agree with Anna. I also am not going to vote for Joe Biden. But it doesn't really feel like there's much to build towards instead of voting for Joe Biden. It doesn't really seem like there's, a very productive place for that energy to be transferred, like I said, which is the bummer.
Yeah, so Lisa was in the chat asking if we think that Joe Biden's going to lose as a result of this, and it's tough. It's tough for a lot of reasons. One, he's not differentiated by his opponents on the issue. So obviously RFK and Donald Trump would support fucking Israel, and we are already experiencing really Donald Trump's foreign policy in Israel manifest itself now. I mean, Joe Biden has stayed that course. We talked about that with Mac last time he was on. So I think that it's tough to do it because it's not a differentiating factor. And I also genuinely believe that RFK eats into Trump at a higher degree than he eats into Joe Biden by a meaningful amount. So
he could save Biden.
I think he saves Biden, dude. I'm not ready to say that for sure, but I could easily see Biden getting like 40% of the vote, 31% of the, or not 30, 39% of the vote. And then because of how it just fucking staggers out, that would have to be crazy. Let's say that he gets 45% of the vote and still wins. I don't want to talk like a fucking crazy person like that, RFK is going to get 20% of the fucking vote or whatever. But when it
hard
shakes
to
down to
predict.
electoral colleges, I think that, or to the electoral college, I think that, it's tough, but I think Biden could pull it out potentially based off of the polling that I see now. And also because I think that because Trump's been out of the public eye still for a while, when the public sees him again, I think they're going to reject him a little bit more than they do as this like abstract idea as an alternative to Joe Biden. So I think that he's actually overperforming right now because he's not participating in the Republican Party debates. They haven't been exposed to him recently. And he's done a pretty good job of keeping his lawsuits out of the public dialogue, right? Because of all the fucking other horrible things that are going on right now. Like Trump just testified against himself and completely like fucked himself. All of his children have been on trial. It's not a day-to-day news topic right now.
But it will be right before the election.
I think that it'll all come back, and I think that also we'll see a little bit of a dampering of the strong support that we see for Donald Trump because people remember how oafish and how unprofessional and what just a blight he was on American politics, even in the most like just cosmetic way.
Yeah. I honestly do still predict that Joe Biden wins the 2024 election if he is the Democrats' candidate. I think that RFK might bail him out. A lot of those RFK votes could come from the Trump pool, and specifically as the increased scrutiny on Trump's legal situation, that'll all be popping off right around the election. So that could cause some defection from Trump into the RFK camp. Also, let's be honest, the Democrats just had a pretty good night as far as elections went in places like Pennsylvania, Kentucky, and Ohio the other night. Again, despite the fact that Joe Biden is pretty unpopular and people aren't feeling very good about the economy, it does seem like people are still deciding to pull the lever for Democrats across the nation, specifically galvanized by the issues of abortion and in a couple states, cannabis, which really, if Joe Biden was smart, he would do something cannabis related right before election day, whether it's straight up legalizing it, decriminalizing it, or just announcing that officially cannabis is descheduled, something like that. That could help him too. Who knows? But yeah, I do still think that Joe Biden's probably going to win. Although, like I said, I personally will not be pulling the lever.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't. I don't know. We spent the whole. This is like such a Debbie Downer episode of the podcast, man. We've been spitting the facts to you guys. We've been honest as we could be.